is claiming they offered A'ja Wilson more money than Caitlyn Clark to play in this league. Well, fans saw this, and they're not buying it. So Wilson's offer was more money than Caitlyn Clark. Although that is
A'ja Wilson recently suggested she was offered a deal worth even more than Caitlyn Clark's reported $1 million contract. What makes it interesting is the timing. The claim surfaced right after Clark turned the offer down, which immediately raised eyebrows. It reads less like a casual comment and more like a calculated message, the kind of move you make when you want to control the narrative before it controls you. A quiet power play dressed up as an offhand reveal. Then comes the second layer. Wilson was also rumored to have declined the same deal, reportedly for reasons similar to Clark's.
If they did do this, Caitlyn heard about it and said, nah, go bleep yourselves. A'ja Wilson's drawing 450,000 viewers, and I'm drawing 2.5 million. But I also understand that she really values the offseason. That's where she has risen her.
Prioritizing rest and planning long-term. If that's accurate, it only sharpens the real question. Why bring it up at all? Because this wasn't just about the money. It was about positioning. It was about making sure the public conversation doesn't drift into a single conclusion, that the league's new era has a new face, and everyone else is simply reacting to it. When you're used to being the headline, I turned it down too, can sound like control. It can also sound like caution. And that's where the picture gets less flattering. Imagine being Wilson, the most dominant player in the WNBA, having to navigate a moment where dominance on the court no longer guarantees dominance in attention, marketing, or momentum. Before Clark arrived, Wilson's world made sense. She was the standard. A 5-time All-Star, a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, a 2-time champion, a resume that reads like a Hall of Fame preview. But it was never only about trophies. Wilson had the full package: awards, visibility, endorsement pull, and the kind of admiration that makes young players model their game after you.
SBJ that Clark's offer was $1 million plus equity in the business. Quote, I believe they offered more than Caitlyn Clark because I know what they offer.
None of it was handed to her either. She earned it through relentless work, through championship pressure, through becoming the player everyone mentioned first when they talked about greatness. Now the spotlight is being shared in a way it never was before, and the way Wilson responds to that shift tells you more than the deal itself ever could. Then something unexpected happened. Quiet buzz started building around a college guard who was shredding defenses like they were practice cones. Caitlyn Clark. People weren't just impressed, they were stunned. The clips looked unreal, the numbers looked fake, and the attention kept piling up. At first, Wilson didn't have a reason to care. Why would she? She was A'ja Wilson, the reigning MVP, the standard, the player everyone had to go through. Her throne felt untouchable. She'd already fought her way to the top, already proved she could handle pressure, already built a resume that made debates feel pointless. No college star was going to rewrite that overnight. Wilson had overcome too much to feel threatened by hype. This was her league, her era, her world. And for a while, that mindset made perfect sense.
I mean, it's a mixture of both. Like, I want to be known as one of, like, when you're talking about GOATs of the W, I need my name to be up there, at least top 3. Like, that's my goal, is like, I want something like, when you're thinking of women's basketball, when you're thinking of the W, I want my name to be on it.
Come on, tell them, A'ja, tell them.
Takes, like, whatever it needs to get there, whether it's the rings, whether it's the accolades individually, like, I want to be up there in that category.
That conversation.
Like, I need that in order for me to sleep at night.
But the whispers didn't fade. They got louder. The clips turned into full game takeovers. The conversation shifted from she's good to this might be the one. And then Wilson found herself in a position she wasn't used to being in. Listening, watching, not to learn, but to track the movement of something she couldn't control. How does someone go from being the undisputed queen of the league to feeling like the room is slowly turning its head? That's the real question. Because the threat was never just about basketball. Clark didn't enter the WNBA like a normal rookie. She arrived like a headline generator, a walking broadcast, the kind of player who changes what cameras follow and what sponsors prioritize. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't centered on who was the best player. It was centered on who was the biggest event, and that shift matters. Then came the money angle, and it only made everything louder.
The way Wilson was determined to take the winter off, it goes on to talk about that she wanted to rest her body. Wilson's offer was more money than Caitlyn Clark, although that is
Clark reportedly turned down a deal that most athletes would sprint toward. A deal that would have most people staring at their phones in disbelief. A rookie saying no to that kind of number doesn't read like confidence, it reads like leverage. It reads like someone who understands the market, the timeline, and the long game. And once that story hit, it reframed everything. Because now it wasn't just Clark is famous, it became Clark can choose. She can decline, she can wait, she can force better terms later. That kind of power changes how everyone around you moves. Look back at her college run and you see why. The numbers weren't just impressive, they were era-defining. She didn't climb to the top of college basketball scoring by accident. She did it by bending defenses, warping game plans, and turning ordinary games into must-watch events. So when Wilson starts sounding guarded, when the tone shifts, when the timing of certain comments feels strategic, it's not hard to see the pressure underneath it. Because the million-dollar question isn't whether Clark is talented. It's what happens when talent shows up with gravity so strong it pulls attention, money, and control toward it, even when a reigning MVP is still standing right there. Not just in women's basketball either, but across college basketball, period. That's the kind of milestone that forces the sports world to pay attention. And attention is exactly what Clark got. Almost overnight. It wasn't just about the league's established stars anymore. Clark became the name that kept popping up everywhere, in headlines, highlight packages, debates, and every casual conversation that used to begin and end with the same few veterans. With that kind of momentum, you'd assume she was getting flooded with endorsement offers, and that assumption would be correct. Brands move fast when they sense a cultural moment, and Clark wasn't just having a great season, she was becoming a moment. But here's where it starts to get messy. Clark, already unrivaled in her own lane, was reportedly presented with a major offer connected to the WNBA world. A deal in the $1 million range with meaningful extras like equity. And the chance to play in a setting that looked tailor-made for her? The pitch was obvious. Big money, business upside, comfort, familiar teammates, and instant spotlight. It sounds like the easiest yes in sports.
Decided to pass on Unrival's inaugural 3-month season starting January 17. They have a lot of money, and they offered her a lot of money.
And then Clark said no. That decision is why this story refuses to die. Because it didn't look like hesitation or uncertainty. It looked like strategy. Like someone who understands that the first big offer is rarely the best offer, and that the biggest leverage you can have is the willingness to walk away. In a league that's still learning how to monetize star power at the highest level, a rookie turning down a headline number sends a message without saying a word. Then, almost immediately after the rejection became public, the counter message arrived. Wilson's side let it be known that she had been offered even more. The timing is what makes people squint. Because the story wasn't Wilson lands a major offer. The story was Clark turns one down. And suddenly, there's a competing headline that pulls attention back to the reigning MVP. Not through highlights, not through performance, through a number. That's the contrast that makes everything feel like a chess match. Clark stays calm, quiet, and measured. Wilson's camp makes sure the world hears about her number right away. Two completely different approaches to the same spotlight. And it naturally raises the question, why announce it? If you're secure in your position, you don't usually need to remind people where you stand. You let your game and your legacy do the talking. When someone feels the need to plant a flag in public, it can read like confidence. It can also read like anxiety, like the room is shifting and you want to slow the shift down before it becomes permanent. Because the WNBA isn't just heating up on the court, it's heating up in influence, in attention, in who drives the conversation, in who moves merchandise, in who gets centered in marketing. The league has had great players for years, but it hasn't had many moments where one player's gravity changes the entire ecosystem this quickly. Now you got two superstars representing two different types of power. Wilson is the established empire, built on dominance, awards, and proof. Clark is the new force, built on reach, momentum, and the ability to change what people tune in for. And that's why this is bigger than a debate about who is the better player. It's a fight over the future shape of the league. It becomes about who can make the smartest moves off the court, not just who can get buckets on it. Wilson has experience, trophies, and the resume. Clark has rookie fire, massive attention, and the rare kind of leverage that comes from being able to say no. And once a player proves she can say no, the league has to start negotiating with her differently. And here's the part people keep missing. This was never just about $1 million offer, or a headline, or whose name trends harder on a random Tuesday. This is about control. For years, the WNBA had a clear order. The best player on the floor was the center of the universe. The league's identity, the marketing, the respect, it all flowed from production and pedigree. Aja Wilson built her place in that order the hard way. She dominated. She won. She carried the pressure that comes with being the standard, and she did it so consistently that the league didn't have to wonder who the face was supposed to be. Then Caitlyn Clark showed up and changed the rules without changing the sport, because Clark's power isn't only in what she does during 40 minutes. It's in what happens the second she walks into an arena. The cameras move, the crowd changes, the conversation follows. And when a player can turn down a deal that everyone else would treat like a life raft, that tells you she's not just participating in the league's economy, she's shaping it. That is what makes veterans uncomfortable. Not jealousy, not fear of competition. Something deeper. The realization that being the best might not automatically mean being the center anymore. That the crown might still be yours on the court, but the spotlight can drift. And there's no defensive scheme for that. So when Wilson's side makes sure the world hears she was offered even more, it's not hard to read between the lines. It sounds like a reminder, a reinforcement, a signal to sponsors, fans, and the league office that she's still the pillar holding this thing up. And maybe she is. But Clark's silence is the louder move, because silence says she's not fighting for validation. She's negotiating from leverage. She's letting the market come to her. And that's the shift that changes everything. Once the league has a star who doesn't need to chase, the league has to start building differently. Players have to start positioning differently. Even the legends have to adjust. That's why this saga feels bigger than basketball. It's legacy versus gravity. It's rings versus reach. It's the old blueprint colliding with a new one in real time. And no matter who you personally think is number one, the truth is the same. The WNBA is entering a new era where power is measured in more than points. And if this tension keeps rising, we're going to see more moments like this, more strategic leaks, more carefully timed quotes, more people trying to steer the narrative instead of letting it move naturally. Because the spotlight is no longer a fixed object, it's a prize. And right now, everyone can feel it shifting. So tell me this. Is Aja Wilson protecting her crown, or is Caitlyn Clark already rewriting what the crown even means? If you want the next breakdown the second the story moves again, you already know, stay locked in with Courtside Leaks. We've got every angle covered, every leak, every backstage twist, every moment they won't show you. Hit like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video. Stay locked in with Courtside Leaks, your home for the truth behind the WNBA headlines.